Megyn Kelly just did what no one else in the media dared to do. She called out both Diddy and Donald Trump in the same breath. In a fiery takedown, she slammed the hip-hop mogul as a woman abuser and warned Trump that pardoning him would be political suicide. This isn't just another podcast rant, it's a full-scale media explosion. Because when Megyn Kelly turns on you, the cameras follow, the headlines multiply, and the internet burns. And right now, she's aiming straight at two of the most powerful men in America. When Megyn Kelly speaks, the media listens. But this time, she didn't just speak, she detonated. Days after news broke that Donald Trump was considering a presidential pardon for Diddy Combs, Kelly grabbed the mic and made it unmistakably clear. She is not here for celebrity redemption games. In a no-holds-barred monologue on her podcast, she tore into Diddy's past, calling him a woman abuser and ripping into the idea that someone with a criminal conviction and a mountain of abuse allegations could even be in line for presidential mercy. But she didn't stop there. She warned Trump himself directly that if he followed through with a pardon, he'd risk alienating the very voters who carried him through scandal after scandal, conservative women. It wasn't just a headline, it was a cultural moment. Kelly, who has spent the last few years reinventing herself as a voice of independent conservative media, suddenly became a moral line in the sand. Her words were sharp, deliberate, and broadcast to millions. If Trump pardons this man, it sends a message that women don't matter. With that one sentence, she flipped the script. What started as another celebrity legal mess had just turned into a political litmus test. And Megyn wasn't whispering from the sidelines. She was shouting from the center stage. In a world where silence often means complicity, Megyn Kelly made her position loud enough to echo through every corner of media, politics, and power. Behind closed doors, the whispers started. Quiet, careful, strategic. Sources inside Trump's inner circle leaked that he was seriously considering pardoning Diddy Combs. No official announcement, no press release, just a few trusted voices planting the seed. Maybe it was about winning back younger black voters. Maybe it was about undermining the justice system he's been at war with for years. Or maybe it was just Trump being Trump, obsessed with celebrity, power, and revenge. But what his team didn't count on was the public backlash detonated by Megyn Kelly's voice. For years, Kelly has been unpredictable, a fierce critic turned cautious supporter of Trump. But this time, she didn't just disagree, she warned him, loudly. She called the idea of a Diddy pardon insane, and reminded her audience of Diddy's long history of allegations, settlements, and his recent federal conviction. And more importantly, she spoke to the one audience Trump desperately needs: conservative women. The same women who held their noses and voted for him in 2020. The ones who stuck with him through Access Hollywood, Stormy Daniels, and E. Jean Carroll. Now, Megyn's message to them is clear: if Trump pardons Diddy, he's turning his back on you. That's the political cost, not just alienation, betrayal. Because this isn't a political stunt. It's about values, character, boundaries. And if Trump crosses this one, Megyn Kelly's voice might not just trigger headlines, it could flip voters. With one wrong move, Trump risks proving every critic right. That when it comes to loyalty, image will always matter more than justice. Diddy Combs may have beaten the sex trafficking charges, but let's not pretend he walked away clean. On July 2nd, 2025, a federal jury found him guilty of 2 felony counts under the Mann Act, a law meant to prevent the transportation of people across state lines for illicit purposes. According to prosecutors, Diddy paid for and organized freak-off parties where women were flown between cities to perform sexual acts. His team called it consensual. The jury didn't entirely agree, and while he dodged the heavier racketeering and trafficking charges, the conviction alone was enough to devastate his legacy. But this wasn't just about one trial. Diddy's name has been tied to over a dozen accusations in the past year, ranging from coercion and violence to bribery and witness intimidation. Cassie's explosive lawsuit opened the floodgates, and suddenly, everyone from background dancers to former producers were coming forward. Some cases were settled quietly, others are still pending. But the damage was done. Endorsements gone, music pulled, honors revoked. Howard University took back his honorary degree. New York City snatched his key. And now, even Hollywood has gone silent. Diddy, once the king of cool, is now toxic currency. Too risky to touch, too famous to ignore. His legal team is already filing appeals, claiming the conviction violates free speech and privacy. But public opinion isn't waiting for the courts. The court of culture has already spoken. And if Trump dares to extend a pardon, it won't just be a favor. It'll look like a betrayal of every woman who ever said "me too." And Megyn Kelly knows it. That's why she's not letting this story fade. Because while Diddy waits for sentencing, the world is watching who stands with him and who doesn't. When Megyn Kelly lit the fuse, the rest of the media scattered. Some ran for cover, others stayed silent, and a rare few stood with her. Because while Diddy's legal team fights in court, the real battle is playing out in the headlines. And in that space, Megyn is winning. Her words weren't just a call-out. They were a dare, a challenge to every network, every host, every influencer to stop treating Diddy like he's just another fallen star. She didn't just attack the crime, she attacked the silence surrounding it. In the days following her fiery statement, conservative outlets picked up her warning and ran with it. But mainstream Hollywood? Crickets. Late-night hosts, pop stars, feminist icons, the same voices who lit up the airwaves during the Me Too movement, suddenly had nothing to say. No tweets, no interviews, no public outrage, just silence. And that silence has become louder than anything else, because the world's watching who speaks up when it's easy and who vanishes when it's inconvenient. But not everyone disappeared. Aubrey O'Day, former Danity Kane member and longtime critic of Diddy, reposted Kelly's clip, calling her the only one brave enough to say it on a mic. Even a few left-leaning podcasters, usually hostile to Kelly's politics, admitted she was dead right about this one. That's the power of being first and fearless. Love her or hate her, Megyn Kelly is forcing the conversation no one else wants to have. And while the networks scramble to figure out their angle, she's already claimed the spotlight. This isn't about whether people agree with her politics. It's about whether they have the guts to call abuse by its name, even when it wears a tuxedo and stands next to a former president. This isn't just about Diddy anymore. It's about how power protects itself, and how quickly justice gets blurred when fame, money, and politics collide. Megyn Kelly didn't just throw a punch, she drew a final line. She said what so many wouldn't, that a Diddy pardon wouldn't just be political suicide, it would be a moral collapse. And she aimed it straight at Donald Trump, daring him to prove he still stands for something more than image. Because what message does it send when a man convicted of flying women across state lines for sex might walk free? Not because he was innocent, but because he's connected? Kelly is saying enough. Enough silence. Enough celebrity privilege. Enough rewriting the rules for the rich and famous. And in doing so, she's forced the entire MAGA movement to confront a brutal truth. If you defend predators to win elections, you've already lost the soul of your party. So now, we wait for Trump's decision, for the media's next move. But while the world stays quiet, Megyn Kelly is standing louder than ever, not just as a commentator, but as the voice calling out the hypocrisy no one else dares touch. And if that voice made you stop and think, even for a second, then share this story. Hit like and subscribe. Because when power protects predators, silence isn't neutrality, it's surrender. And the only way to stop it is to speak louder than the system. Megyn just did. Will you?